In this video, we're going to cover 5 strategies and tips to pass the MPRE. So our first tip for you is to start studying early. Ideally, you have registered for the exam, you've marked your calendar, and you've decided that you are going to be allocating time in those weeks leading up to the exam to study. So do it. Once you've committed to taking the exam, take that extra step and spend some time to organize your schedule so that you can actually factor in adequate studying time. Hopefully, you're not saving your preparation for the last minute. So the first step or key to success in terms of being successful on the MPRE is to actually start studying early. For some people, they have a lot going on in their personal life or a lot going on the school calendar based upon the courses in which they're in. And if that's the case, they likely need to start studying earlier than, say, someone who doesn't have as hectic of a course load or as hectic of a personal calendar. Our second tip is to study smart. Focus on the highly tested rules. The National Conference of Bar Examiners tells us how highly tested each subsection of the rules is. So for instance, conflict of interest are tested at 12 to 18%, meaning at a minimum, 12% of your MPRE exam will be on the conflict of interest rules. Whereas on the high end, it could encompass up to 18% of your total exam. So this means that because they're the most highly tested subsection of the rules, you need to make sure that you are focusing on them first. That will maximize your chances of success. Now, that doesn't mean we're encouraging you to ignore any one area of the rules. I just mean that if you don't maybe have as much time to study, or even if you do, I would first prioritize those highly tested areas of law. Our third tip or strategy for success here is to practice using real MPRE questions. So using made up or invented questions, maybe through your bar prep company, if you're trying out their MPRE course, or however you're preparing for the MPRE. If you're using made up questions, that's okay. That's not necessarily a bad thing. In fact, it's nice to try your hand at a variety of different questions. But ideally, you would also be cycling in practice with the real thing. The real questions are going to be your best resource. It will be the best illustration about how the rules are actually tested. And a little bit of exposure can go a long way. So again, even if you're using made-up questions, that's okay. Just make sure that you're taking steps to get your hands on the real thing and also practicing those as well. If you're wondering where to get those, you can purchase those questions from the National Conference of Bar Examiners themselves, or you can buy them from us. We too sell the real questions, so be sure to check out our website. Our fourth tip to be successful in taking the MPRE is to practice questions under timed constraints. It's one thing to know the rules, and it's one thing to be able to do a multiple choice question, but remember that this exam will be 60 questions under timed constraints of 2 hours, assuming that you do not have any sort of extensions or accommodations. So with that being said, you have about 2 minutes a question. You want to be sure that while you're preparing for this exam, you're also getting yourself prepared to take it under timed constraints. So while there's a lot of value of practicing questions untimed, there's a ton of value in also practicing them timed. So be sure that you're factoring this into your study schedule. And then our fifth tip is kind of a practical tip. It's a little bit less about what you should do leading up to the exam or how to study, but instead I think it's a great way to ensure that you're not going to find yourself stressed out at the last minute on MPRE exam day. So what is this tip? It's to familiarize yourself with the test day policies. There are security policies and procedures you need to be familiar with. There are rules about what you can and can't bring into the exam. So it's best to not have any surprises on exam day and to be sure that you've looked at that and you are prepared accordingly. So we hope you found those 5 tips helpful. And if you're looking for an MPRE course and a stellar outline, be sure to check out our free course. Not only do you get questions and an outline, but you also get our one-pager, which consists of the highly tested rules as well. So best of luck in your preparation for the upcoming MPRE.